Hello and welcome back. We are now on episode 32 of the Gita Decoded. We're now going through chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita, in which our speaker, Sister Denise, will be sharing her understanding and insight into what is one of most India's ancient scriptures. Sister Denise, it's always great to have you here in the studio. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Sister Denise, the chapter starts with Arjuna asking God to define a number of terms. You have clarified and given definitions of these terms in the previous chapter. I see there's another term that arises that's entitled Adi Atma. You've covered Adi Bhuta and Adi Deva in the previous chapter. Could you tell us what this term means? And the words are, Arjuna spoke, what is this Brahman? What is the Adi Atma?
Yes, it's quite a complex concept. In Raj Yoga, as we practice it and study it within Brahma Kumaris, we don't really use the word Brahman. The word Brahman generally is understood to be the all-pervading energy of God, which includes everything. So it includes God, it includes humanity, it includes light, darkness, matter, non-matter, everything. Whereas in our study we will say, okay, there is an all-pervading energy in the material world which we call the energy of matter. Then there is an all-pervading energy in the non-material world, and that is variously known as Paramdham or Brahmand. So we do have this word Brahman, but with a D on the end of it, Brahmand.
And that is a place.
It's a location.
Okay.
Well, it's not a physical location, but we will differentiate. You see, you have the word Adhyatma, the original soul. We use the term the Supreme Soul. So the Supreme Soul is God, the Supreme Soul, who is a soul, but not a human soul, the God Soul. There's only one soul like that, and who dwells in the Brahmand, which is this region of light. This region of light is intangible, it's inaccessible to a human perception through the sense organs, but with a third eye you can perceive it. So the third eye is the intellect filled with knowledge, the mind which is able to perceive that which is not perceivable via the sense organs. And you will see also in this chapter he's talking about death. So it is generally understood that when you die, where do you go? I mean, sometimes it is said, okay, you go to heaven, you go to hell, but before that, you go to God. So the whole thing about the practice of Raj Yoga is you leave your physical body, you leave the world of matter, you enter the world of non-matter, which is the Brahmand, or we also call it Paramdham, Shantidham, the world of light, the sixth element of light. And it is in there that is the dwelling place of Supreme God Adi Atma, whom we call Shiva or Shiv Baba. So, there's a variation in how this is presented here.
Sister Denise, towards the end of the last chapter, we heard God saying to Arjuna what it means to remember God in one's final moments. And this theme is carried over into this chapter, and it goes on for a few stanzas. Verse 5 reads, "And at the hour of death he who dies remembering me, having relinquished the body, goes to my state of being. In this matter there is no doubt." And if one looks at the thread between the last chapter and this, one gets the very clear impression that God is teaching us how to die. That sounds morbid, if you think about it. I mean, because death is a subject we all avoid. I know I've heard of people who refuse to draft a will in case the moment they draft it, it means that the end is near. I've heard that and seen that. So death is a subject that we avoid, and yet God is saying to His Son, you need to prepare for your death, and not the physical preparations. Check all your insurance policies. Not that preparation, but spiritual preparation. Would you tell us why this is so important, and how can one do this without being morbid?
I think that in body consciousness, people are having a lot of superstitions about death. Death is considered the end, final. I cease to exist. I don't want to think about that, because you see, very deep down within a human being, there is this awareness, very subconscious awareness, that I am immortal and I have to be immortal. In death, the whole idea of death is, well, you're mortal. It's a sort of ambivalent relationship that we have with death. Now, the Gita is all about the imperishable self, the soul. So death is not the end. Death is when you leave this body. So for Brahma Kumars Kumaris in the practice of Raj Yoga, we are continuously thinking about and practicing how to leave the body. So leaving the body is an act that the soul does. So we have to leave the body in the remembrance of God, which is exactly what is mentioned here. So I have to be detached from this body and go to God, but there is attachment to the body, and so people get scared, you see. And so all of these vices that arise from body consciousness prevent the person from practicing properly. But what we need to know is that death is part of life. People are attached to the body. So when somebody dies and they see a corpse, they don't like it, they're afraid of corpses, they feel very, very disturbed and distressed by death, because death is associated also with pain, with loss, with trauma, with all of the things that are bad. I think that, normally speaking, when a person is in what is called the Vanparast stage of life, in Hindu philosophy there are different stages of life. So you have childhood, youth, maturity, and then Vanparast, retirement, and then you have sannyas, the last part. So sannyas means you give up everything, because as long as you still have something, you'll be attached to it. And so the whole effort is to become dispossessed of everything, including your body. And then that means you're just with yourself and God. And people find that very scary because of body consciousness. As soon as you start to enjoy the fruits of the practice of soul consciousness, you look at material things differently. You look at your body differently. You see, this is not me, this is an object. This stuff is not mine. It's here for a while. As a trustee, I will look after it properly, then it goes. But my journey is, I'm leaving, I'm going to God, you see. And especially we feel that we have passed through many, many births, and we are in the Kali Yuga. So we consider this to be our last birth in the Kali Yuga, which means that at the end of the Kali Yuga, I have to go to God, and I must not reincarnate in the Kali Yuga. This is also another effort. We want to leave this world so completely that we return to the Brahmand, to the Nirvana, to the home of souls, and that we will come back into reincarnation in a completely renovated world. This is what Raj Yoga is about.
Sister Denise, I now want to take you to verse 6, which reads, "Moreover, whatever state of being he remembers," that is, the person who's about to die remembers, "when he gives up the body at the end, he goes respectfully to that state of being," Arjuna, "transformed into that state of being." There's a expression that I once encountered about one's final thoughts. What is the message here? And when I read this, I realized that there's an implicit warning in these words.
You see, the idea is this: if you don't leave your body properly, then you can't go on to the world of nirvana and beyond. What happens if you don't leave your body correctly? You will still be caught up in the wheel of karma, and you will take rebirth according to the last thing that you remember, if it isn't God, you see. And so this is a very important exam, and we want to do it right. Transformed into that state of being, we will call this the avyakt state. So there's vyakt and there's avyakt. We have three states. We have the embodied state, then we have the state in the subtle body, which is the avyakt state, and then there is the incorporeal state, which is just the soul as a seed. When you leave the body, then you are creating a very, very pure and beautiful subtle body, because your subtle body is very important. So the state of God is the incorporeal state. When your subtle body is absolutely pure, and you go via the subtle body to the incorporeal state, that is absolutely accurate way to leave your body at the end of the cycle of reincarnations. These stanzas are very important when you're thinking about what we call the last exam.
And it doesn't stand to reason that you should prepare for this final exam 5 minutes before you write the exam. It takes a lifetime to learn how to die.
Yes.
Denise, that is it's mind-blowing, is what it is.
Well, you know, there's a very interesting expression. The one who knows how to die, he knows how to live. Okay. So when you're preparing to die, you're making sure that your life is exemplary. If you're not worried about death, then you live life like that, casually. But if you're really preparing for your death, then your life really has to be right. It is said the date of your death is fixed, you have a destiny. So your life is, you're moving closer and closer to that date. And the date of your death is the last possible moment of your spiritual striving. So if you use this life for tapasya, or spiritual striving, intense meditation, spiritual practice, and so on, your life leads towards a perfect death, you see. And that's considered very, very good, not morbid.
Yeah. Lost for words right now. Okay, moving on. Sister Denise, moving on to verse 7. Verse 7 reads, "Therefore at all times meditate on me with your mind and intellect fixed on me. In this way you shall surely come to me." Sister Denise, this is one of those, what I call the heart verses. Okay? It feels as if God is saying, "Child, come. I'm waiting, come." Okay, it's full with so much of love.
Yes.
And it's so kind of God to say this. But how many of us really hear the message? Because we're not necessarily good or bad, but we're very busy. We're very busy. One of the most common complaints you hear that people have in today's world is, I have no time to do anything. Okay, there's too few hours in the day. So busy is also a vice, because it takes you away from God, and you can't prepare to die if you're busy. And Denise, technology has enslaved us fully.
Yes, it does. It has. So this is why we have to be disciplined in even our use of technology, time. Interestingly, in Hindi, the word for time, the word for death is the same word.
Which is?
Kal. And so Kal means, your time, like we say in English, your time has come. It means it's the hour of your death now. So time is only existing as long as you're on the earth. The dimension of time doesn't exist in the world of God. It's a timeless world. Now, God is a timeless being. And when we are there, we are also timeless, deathless. And so we become, or we enter into the same state of being as God. We become incorporeal. And when we're caught in the wheel of reincarnation, then we cannot enter into that world of God, the world of Brahman, where we are timeless and bodiless and viceless and perfect. That is called, we call it the seed stage, where everything stops. No time, no thought.
This theme, Sister Denise, carries on for a few stanzas of how to die, and then we come to, well, it's verse 12, but I want to read verse 11 before that. That which those who know the Vedas call the imperishable, which the ascetics free from passion enter, desiring which they follow a life of chastity, that path I shall explain to you briefly. Closing all the gates of the body, and confining the mind in the heart, having placed the vital breath in the head, established in yoga concentration. So, you want to explain to us what these terms mean? And I'm particularly interested in confining the mind in the heart. What is the relationship between mind and heart? What is the benefit of having placed the vital breath in the head? How does both of these concepts fit into the way one relates to God?
You see, how do you leave your body is also part of the question. When you practice yoga, normally you say this is your heart chakra is here, your heart's sort of up here somewhere, but your heart chakra is in the middle. And then you have your mind and your third eye point. Then you also have the crown chakra, you see, the throat chakra. These are the chakras that people talk about. Now in Raj Yoga, what we do in Brahma Kumaris, you practice that your energy, your soul's energy is dispersed throughout your body, so that the soul, can move your body around. So the soul contains the energy that animates the body. Now, in the verse it says you close the gates of the body. That means that you withdraw your mind from the sense organs. So we practice see but don't see, hear but don't hear, touch but don't touch, all this. So you're withdrawing your mind from the sense organs and the objects of sense perception, and you're withdrawing that to your heart. Your heart is where you feel. We're not talking at that time about the pump that pumps your blood around, and we're also not talking about the heart chakra, which would be situated here. the heart of your being, the heart of your soul. That is where your qualities of purity, peace, power, love, and bliss reside. The heart of your soul is further in than your mind, your intellect, your sanskaras, which are your subtle organs of action of the soul.
Do you find sanskaras for the viewer in this context?
Well, sanskaras are the individual characteristics that differentiate you from anyone else. They're your traits, they're your tendencies, all these things. And you have good sanskaras and bad sanskaras. Your sato, rajo, tamo varies also in your sanskaras. Your mind is an instrument of the soul which can be focused on the external world through the sense organs, which is where it normally goes. But now you want to turn it and focus on the soul itself. So the soul itself is light, which contains these qualities: purity, peace, power, love, bliss. So you have to be totally focused on yourself and not on the material world through the sense organs. And then this place, the third eye point, that is the seat of the soul. So you go there. So your heart, your mind, your third eye, everything is concentrated in this one place here. When you are there, then you can be completely detached from the body. So this is our practice. You do this, and then you turn your attention, which we call buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga is really your focus of attention, and that is your buddhi, your will, your capacity of comprehension, your intellect, that is turned towards God, Adi Atma, the Supreme Soul, in Brahmand, the world of light, in a bodiless state. And in that way, your mind is the vehicle which enables you to make contact with God and to experience God as a being, as a source of all the qualities, also as light. That is yoga. And this is how you die. You go there and you don't come back. Right now we go, come, go, come, go, come, but eventually you go, don't come back.
Ever?
Well, not in this body. You see.
Okay.
When you go and come, you leave this body, you come back, but mentally. But one day you will leave this body and not come back. You'll come back another one. But what we want to do is we want to not reincarnate in this particular karmic cycle. We want to not reincarnate in the Kali Yuga to have more karmic accounts and etc. What we want to do, what we are striving for, is to leave this body at the right time, at the end of the karmic cycle, return to the world of light, return to God, and then come again in the world that God is creating through the transformed karma of those who are his students. You see, this is how we feel that the cycle, the kalpa, is finishing and a new one starting, you see. So basically, this is why we feel that God has to come and give the knowledge of the Gita on the cusp between cycles. And this is also the circumstance of the Great World War, you see, because there has to be some mechanism for all the souls on earth to go home. Because otherwise you just keep going, reincarnating. And as you keep reincarnating, you get weaker and weaker. So there comes a point where you reach the lowest point. And after the lowest point, you have to be raised to the highest point. So in that sense, the function of God is to purify and to raise the souls individually and collectively from the lowest point to the highest point, and then the whole machinery of human culture is set off again.
Okay, I was going to ask you more questions, but time is against us, so there you have it. I think the most sobering message that I received from today's episode is that God teaches us human beings how to die. And it's not something that we like to think about, want to think about, but if it's a message that Sri Krishna has given to Arjuna, then it's meant for us. And the question is, do you know how to die? Is it something that you have ever applied your mind to? If not, now will be a good time to ask yourself that question. Uncomfortable though it may be. Sister Denise, thank you. That was strong medicine. It's very, very strong medicine, but necessary for us to hear. So thank you, and we will see you for Chapter 8, Part 2. Thank you, and thank you for joining us. Goodbye to you for now.